It is 6:43 new this morning. We're speaking with the major candidates for Arkansas's 2nd Congressional District. Earlier, you saw Republican incumbent Congressman French Hill. Now we speak with retired Army Colonel Marcus Jones, a Democrat, starting with the importance of ending the Israel-Hamas conflict.
The administration's efforts right now, their incredible hard work and their efforts that are ongoing. If people that are following it have seen, even most recently, Secretary Blinken has been back in the Middle East and has back and forth. Yep. Absolutely. Working with many partners in that region, Egypt, Qatar, to try and broker a ceasefire and try and get those hostages back. Ultimately, the only way I see peace and stability happening in there is the two-state solution.
Your experience with intelligence is something I want to ask you about. One of the issues facing not only Arkansans but the globe
Yes.
is the advent of the AI technology, cybersecurity threats, the way that they can actually use AI to make a person look or say
Yes.
something that's identical to someone else.
Yes.
Would you lean on that intelligence experience, and do you think that Arkansans have a reason to feel a little bit frightened by AI, or do you see the purposes of it going forward in a good way?
Yes, I think there are amazing opportunities that we have, but we have to temper that and we have to regulate that. There is policy and legislation in place or being worked that addresses that issue, and it should be, and it's a bipartisan effort.
Yes.
And a bipartisan understanding. This is one of those things that it just benefits people, and we should cross party lines to address things that benefit folks.
Crossing party lines makes me ask you, what type of Democrat should Arkansans see you as? Do you feel you're more moderate or more conservative? How do you describe yourself?
I would tell you that, and again, I get the opportunity to talk to people all the time. And the majority of Arkansans that I talk to are put off by extremism of any kind, to the far right or the far left. What we hear is people are interested in a return to moderation, to the middle, to compromise. We see that pendulum swinging, whether we call it a course correction or a pendulum swing or whatever. We see that coming back to the middle, and that is where the majority of Arkansans reside. Most people want their freedoms protected. Most people want us to look after their neighbor, and at the same time, they want opportunity, and they want, and that really is where my thoughts and policy resides.
And you also have an interest in women's rights.
Absolutely. I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a son, and when people talk about who do you see the average Arkansan, unless you picture a woman, because there are more women in Arkansas than there are men, unless you picture a woman, you probably don't really consider the average Arkansan. But in fact, that is the case, and I believe, I'm a believer that, and a champion that, women deserve the absolute equity in our society, and that includes equity over their own decisions.
Arkansas is a rural state, it's an agricultural state. Your appeal to veterans is very clear. Your service, by the way, thank you for your service. 29 years, that's phenomenal. And you've done well by your country, you've done well by Arkansans.
Well, thank you.
I understand that you set out to do 100,000 steps in you've gone to a lot of doors.
So our initial goal that we had put out was that my campaign would knock on 10,000 doors.
That's it.
And this week we have knocked just over, we're about 5,700 on track to get to that 10,000. We think that we'll surpass that number.
That's a lot of doors.
It is, but it's an incredible connection that I get to have with people. I joke with them often when I'm standing on their front porch that this is a job interview I've got to have, 150,000 times on thousands of front porches. I also joke that you'll likely never see my opponent on your front porch talking to you about trying to earn your vote.
We have the full interview with retired Colonel Jones on demand from THV 11 Plus. That's our 24/7 free streaming service. You can download if your TV has Roku, Amazon Fire, or Apple TV, and you'll find our interview with GOP incumbent French Hill available to stream as well.